We are gathered here today to sip some tea, honey, so make sure you guys have your teacups ready because this tea is what? Piping hot. Hey, you guys, it's your girl T, and today is Sunday, May 21st. There's not too much celebrity news out there, so I wanted to do a video about a topic. I've been wanting to do a video about this for a while now, but I just really haven't had time to do it. So what I want to talk about is the whole Boyz N The Hood movie, okay? So I'm sure everybody and their mama done watch Boyz N The Hood. They're about to have their 26-year anniversary. Can you believe it? It's been 26 years since that movie was released. And most of the cast from that movie have gone on to do great things. I mean, we all know Ice Cube. I mean, he's doing his thing in Hollywood. He recently did Straight Outta Compton. He made a ton of money from that. Cuba Gooding Jr. is doing super well since that movie. Morris Chestnut became a household name because of that movie. He played Ricky. So the movie touched a lot of people, and it's left a really big resonating impact on a lot of folks, especially the Black community. Now, John Singleton, who was the director, he's gone on to do so many big things. Boyz N The Hood was his first movie, and he was only 23 years old at the time of directing and filming that movie. And then since then, he's done things like Baby Boy and a host of other stuff. John Singleton is a very, very talented man. We all know Angela Bassett. She played Trey's mama. Angela Bassett damn near plays everybody's mama, okay? And Angela Bassett has gone on to do really good things. Same with Lawrence Fishburne. He played Trey's daddy. And I remember there were things that he said in that movie that I didn't understand it as a kid when I was watching it. But now that I'm older, it's like, damn, Trey's daddy told us that. Because I never heard the word gentrification until I watched Boyz N The Hood. And at that point, you know, I understood what he was saying, but I really didn't get it. And now that I'm older and I see the old neighborhood where I grew up on has been totally regentified. You know, it's no longer the hood. They moved all the hood folks out to the suburbs. And now everybody who's living in my old neighborhood is white, you know, so everything this man was saying in that movie has come to pass. And this is in a lot of cities, not just where I grew up in the Twin Cities, but also if you go to Harlem. I was in Harlem this summer. And I had met with one of the residents who grew up in Harlem. She'd been in Harlem her whole life. And she was telling me how much it has been regentified and how, you know, now on 125th, they have all these shopping centers and, you know, things that weren't there before. So Harlem has definitely changed. A lot of cities around this country has changed. So whenever I think about gentrification, I always think about Trey's daddy talking about it in that scene in Boyz N The Hood. Now, Regina King was also another female in that movie, and she played Ice Cube's love interest or girlfriend. She had the dookie braids and the fat gold chain. Like, I remember watching this and I was so in love with her character because we all know her from 227 when she used to play Little Brenda. And in Boyz N The Hood, she was playing Shalika. And she would go off on Ice Cube and give him a run for his money. And since then, you know, she's been doing her thing. She was in American Crime for 2 seasons. They recently just canceled it. She's also done roles on Scandal and stuff like that too. Nia Long was a part of this cast as well. I mean, it's so crazy to see where a lot of these people started and where they're at now. Nia Long recently did a stint on Empire.
This woman Andre is dealing with is very dangerous.
I killed my husband.
So she's still out here doing her thing as well. The mama, Tyra Farrell, we also know her from Poetic Justice. She played Miss Jessie, the hairstylist, the salon owner. And in this movie, she played Ricky and Doughboy's mother.
How come your dad don't come over here and play cards with us no more?
I don't know.
I know he don't think he better than the rest of us. Must be too busy shooting at people. I heard what happened over that other night.
You know, and she was one of those hood moms, you know what I'm saying? It's like her kids had different daddies. You could tell she definitely loved Ricky more than she did Doughboy, probably because of the fathers and, you know, how she felt about the fathers. But Doughboy was a stand-up kid. He stuck up for Ricky. He had Ricky's back in certain scenes that the mother never knew about. But she took a hiatus from acting for a few years. So she did the damn thing recently playing Roxanne Ford on Empire.
If you don't give me what I want, I come after your boys.
Now, as far as the kids who played in Boyz N The Hood, Desi Arnaz Hines II, he's all grown up. He's tatted up. He still kind of looks the same. He's done a few minor roles since Boyz N The Hood. He's done things like The Intern and City of Angels. He's also done a few short films, and recently John Singleton posted a picture of him. So this is what he looks like now. Now, the little boy who played Ricky, his name was Devon McCrae. And what a lot of people didn't know, what I didn't know either for a long time, is that Devon McCrae is Darius McCrae's younger brother. Now, for y'all who don't know who Darius McCrae is, Darius McCrae played Eddie Winslow in Family Matters. He was the big brother to Laura. So I always assumed he looked like Darius McCrae when I was younger, but I never really thought they were related, but they actually are related. And so he hasn't done a lot since then as far as acting. He's been back more or less doing music. So that's his thing. He's had a few, appearances here and there throughout the 90s. Like he was in Sister Sister and he showed up on Family Matters a few times. But now he's mainly making music. And this is a recent picture of him here. Now the little boy, the memorable little boy, was Baja Jackson. He played a young doughboy. And he was about that life. He was not going to let nobody mess with his baby brother. He was going to get that football back for his brother. And I love that scene because it really showed, even though they had different daddies, even though the mother treated him a lot worse than the brother, at the end of the day, they were brothers and he cared about him and he knew he had to look out for him. So I always love that scene. Since then, he hasn't done too much acting. He worked on Three Ninjas back in 1992. He was also on Poetic Justice. And now he's currently a chef based out of Atlanta. So he's doing his thing in the damn culinary industry. Here goes an updated picture of him. Now we also have Mr. Chris. If you guys remember, Chris was the one who was in the wheelchair. He had gotten shot. And a lot of people didn't realize that back then, he wasn't just acting or pretending to be in a wheelchair. He really was in a wheelchair. His name is Reggie Green. He hasn't done anything since then. He was shot in his hometown of Richland, California at the age of 6. So when he was shot because two of his neighbors got into some type of dispute and somebody pulled out a gun, he ended up getting a bullet to the shoulder and it traveled and it hit his spine. So he's been paralyzed since he was 6 years old. He was paralyzed from the waist down. And after his father found out that his son would never walk again, he literally killed himself 2 days later. So this man has been through a lot, but he's never let those tragedies and those things stop him. Since then, being that he's not really acting anymore, he's basically started his own nonprofit organization called Empowering the Youth. He's also a minister at Brother Reg Ministries. And he recently did an interview. You guys can find it on YouTube about a year ago, just talking about his life experiences. Now, last but not least, Alyssa Rogers was the girl who played Ricky's baby mama. She lived with him, and you guys remember they had the little boy together. She hasn't done a lot of work since then, but she is on Instagram. But after she did Boyz N The Hood, that was her film debut, she ended up getting a major role in Kid and Play's Class Act. And I remember her from that movie, and I always really liked her, especially in that movie. I thought she was so pretty. She was dark-skinned. I really just thought she was gorgeous. And just to look at her now, she has not aged a lot. She still looks good. She has a head full of hair. She's really, really pretty lady. So looks like she's really not doing the acting thing anymore. She's just basically raising her children, working hard, and being a positivity enthusiast. So now those were the happy stories, okay, from Boyz N The Hood. So that's where most of them are at. A lot of people came up from that movie. A lot of people prospered from that movie. There was also some tragedies associated with the movie as well. So now you guys all know I love that scene. Like I said, the football scene, that's probably one of the most memorable scenes. So the guy who took the ball from the kids, his name is Vontae Sweet. And he played in Boyz N The Hood. He also played Sharif in Menace to Society. He was the ex-knucklehead turned Muslim. But anyways, in Boyz N The Hood, he was an asshole. He basically asked little Ricky for the ball and was like, all right, thanks, cuz, and, kept it moving. And at that point, that's when Doughboy got upset and he went to go get his brother's ball back. Go ahead and check this out real quick.
Throw the ball, little man. I ain't going to take it. Thanks, cuz.
Yo, dog.
Yeah, let's go, man. Throw the ball.
Hey, yo, Rock. Get a little nigga the ball back. Stupid mother. I was gonna give it to you, too.
Yo, Rock, give me the ball. Man, give me the fucking ball. Hey, little man. Catch.
So the black dude who gave them the ball back in that scene, his name is Lexi Bigham. And what a lot of people don't know, what I didn't know until later on in life, is that he died a few years after Boyz N The Hood. The last movie that he starred in, he was 27 years old at the time. and he was in the middle of filming this movie that came out a long time ago called High School High. So that was one of his last movies, and basically he died in a car accident in Los Angeles back in 1995. So a lot of folks don't know that, but that part where he showed that, you know, hood guys can have compassion. I always respected that John Singleton showed that dynamic where you had the asshole who took the ball from the kids, and then he basically checked him like, yo, give me the ball. You know what I'm saying? Give me the ball. And he took it from his homeboy and he gave it back to the kid. I'm sure that when he gave that ball back to Ricky, he probably saw himself in Ricky and probably realized that had he been given the same opportunities and the same positive encouragement, he wouldn't be out here gangbanging and doing dumb shit with his homeboys. So I think that that part is what tugged at his heart to give that ball back. So I always thought that was really cool that John Singleton showed that. He showed that contrast where, yeah, some folks in the hood are straight up assholes. They don't care if you're a child or not. They will snatch shit from you. I done had shit snatched from me from older people. And it's like the worst feeling because like when you're, you know, 10, 11, 12, what can you do? I can't beat up this fucking 18, 19, 20-year-old girl. So I just got to suck this shit up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people who grew up in the hood can definitely relate to that situation. And every now and then a really cool adult would check that other person and be like, yo, give them back their item, or, you know, quit playing, or, you know, quit messing with them. So I really love that dynamic. But unfortunately, he did die a few years later after that. So on to the next person. You guys may not know his name, but I know everybody remembers him. He played Dookie, and his real name was Dietrich Gruber, and he was getting ready to be 23 years old. So he was still riding off of the high of being on Boyz N The Hood. He also played in Poetic Justice and in Higher Learning. So he was starting to get a little bit of notoriety. He was a good actor. And basically what happened is that he went to a drag race with his girlfriend. He went to the drag race with his girlfriend. His girlfriend at the time, they're saying that she was 16 or 17 years old. And he was also one of his best friends. So they happened to be at the drag race, and there was a bunch of ABC gang members there, and these are like the Asian boy Crips. And so they were all there, and his best friend is Ignacio Hernandez, and his girlfriend was Jenny Hyman. So they were all there, and basically, you know, one of these guys saw him, and they asked him what set he was from. And I don't know if he said a set name or what. They asked him what set he was from, and I'm not sure what he said. But from what they're saying is that they saw him reach under his shirt as if he was reaching for a gun. So instead of waiting for him to possibly pull out a gun, all of these gang members, they just started jumping him. They rushed him and they proceeded to kick him, stomp him, hit him, beat the hell out of him. His homeboy jumped on top of him to help protect him. They ended up beating up the homeboy. The girlfriend tried to jump in to break up the fight. She ended up getting kicked and stomped. I mean, the whole situation was crazy. Nobody was breaking up this fight. Everybody was just sitting there watching it. And so after the fight was over, everybody began to retreat to their cars. And then all of a sudden, a man, his name was Iraka, and he was a gang member. And basically, as everybody else was walking back to the car, Iraka turned around, he grabbed his gun, and he shot Gruber right there while he was laying on the ground. And then he turned around and he grabbed Hernandez, his best friend who was trying to protect him. He grabbed Hernandez by the head and his shoulder. So then after he shot his best friend, he realized that Jenny might be a witness. So he turned her around and he shot her as well. He ended up shooting her in her neck. And she was the only one who didn't die. Gubert died. His best friend died. She ended up surviving, but she's paralyzed for the rest of her life because of where the bullet hit her. So she's basically paralyzed. He ended up being caught a few months later. And basically, he's sitting on death row. And this man is still alive. This took place in like 1995. And this man is still alive. He has a wife. You know, he had a child before he went in there. He even had a MySpace page at one point in time. It's like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? It's almost like he's still living, you know, some type of life out here. Meanwhile, he took 2 lives and really totally affected one life of a teenager. You know, so this whole situation was just insane. When I read about this, it's almost like, you know, you couldn't have written that. It was almost like a Hollywood script from what everybody said. But unfortunately, it wasn't Hollywood. There was no cut at the end of this. At the end of this, you know, 2 people lay dead. So now, last but not least, I think one of the most interesting people from this entire situation, you guys may not know his name, but everybody remembers his face. Everybody remembers him. He is the guy who killed Ricky, and his name was Lloyd Avery II. And he's the one who pulled out that damn shotgun and he just started blasting. So what happened with him is that basically his career was starting to bud. On top of him doing Boyz N The Hood, he was also in Poetic Justice. If you guys don't remember, he also killed Maurice. Check this out.
Look at his face, dude. That's not him. That's him, dude. I'm telling you. That's him. Remember that part, nigga, dude? That's him, dude. Look.
Yeah. Let me get a,
It's that Mark-ass nigga that was talking shit, dude. In front of all his homeboys, he thought he was the shit.
popcorn and ginger beans.
All right, so you guys just saw that he killed not only Ricky, but he also killed Janet Jackson's boyfriend, Maurice. Everybody knew him as the quote-unquote gangbanger who would kill folks in these damn hood movies, okay? So sadly, for some reason, Lloyd Avery did not know how to leave those roles behind. He ended up acting out these same scenarios in real life, and it landed him in prison. So basically what happened is that they did an interview a few years ago with his brother, Shay Avery, and Shay Avery was also in the movie with him, Poetic Justice. And you can see them there playing video games. He's the one who's talking to him like, yo, ain't that fool that we saw last week? That's his little brother. So he did an interview a few years back with King Magazine to talk about him and his brother's life. So basically he was saying that they grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. You know, they were quiet. None of them were gangbangers. They went out for this role and they basically, you know, they got it. They had a really unique look. So basically what the brother was saying that at the time of his capture, he was 30 years old and he was finally landing more work. He was in Master P's movie Lockdown and Shot, where again, he played that same crazy character. The one character's name is G-Ride. He would go off and, you know, he was shooting folks. He was always playing the same crazy character. And for some reason, it seemed like he did not know how to exercise these characters out of him. It's one of the things that you learn when you're in acting is that you have to become that character, but then you also have to learn a safe way to remove yourself out of that because it can drive you nuts. You know, people always talk about the Heath Ledger thing, how when he became the Joker, it literally drove him crazy because you can really take on these personas.
What? Heath Ledger, the actor, he died in New York. Overdose. He died in New York. Just found him dead a couple hours ago.
I warned him.
Listen, Jack.
And I don't know if he ever had somebody really teach him how to come out of these roles because obviously he did not know how to come out of the roles that he played because he ended up manifesting these same roles in real life. Soon after, he moved from the safety of the valley to the jungles. And if you guys know anything about the jungles, that's where a lot of the Bloods come from in LA. So they said that he'd be like at all these hood parties in the jungle and he got jumped in and he started blooding. And people were so confused because they're like, okay, dude, you're, you know, a Hollywood star now, you're in Boyz N The Hood, everybody recognizes you, you have money. Why are you in the jungle? Why are you constantly in the hood? Why would you become heavily blood affiliated? You know what I'm saying? Why are you on La Brea? Why are you in Crenshaw? Like, it really confused a lot of people. He even ended up tattooing the word jungle above his left eyebrow. So his mother, his brother, you know, a lot of folks close to him were just simply baffled. They're like, instead of him just being a Hollywood studio gangster, he literally started living it. And his brother also called it the Tupac Syndrome. And he says he felt like he had something to prove when he really didn't. Even if you have money and fame, you will sacrifice all of that just to have respect from a bunch of thugs. But unlike Tupac dying under the glitz and glamour of the Vegas Strip, Avery Lloyd's murder was far from glamorous. So basically, the man ended up getting himself into trouble. This was around his 30th birthday. He felt like he had something to prove to his gang, and he ended up doing a double homicide, which I find crazy because, again, like I showed you guys at the beginning of this, he murdered two people in two separate movies. So in Boyz N The Hood, he killed Ricky, and in Poetic Justice, he ended up killing Maurice, which was Janet Jackson, aka Justice's boyfriend, and then in real life, he ended up doing a double murder. So I just find that whole connection just crazy as hell. So anyhow, he ended up getting life in prison for this. And while he was in prison, a Satan worshiper who was his cellmate, he got into it with him, and the Satan worshiper ended up killing him. But the crazy thing is the officers did not even find his body for 2 days. So the way he died was definitely tragic and crazy. You know, so I think that's one of the craziest stories that comes from this whole Boyz N The Hood thing. But like the old saying says, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And even though he went to prison, it still came back to bite him in the ass. So I don't know. I've always wanted to do this video, do an update on where are they now on Boyz N The Hood and things like that. But I just found those last two stories just really, really crazy. The one with Dietrich Gruber and Lloyd Avery, you know, it's just really insane. But that's what a lot of people need to realize, that if you are going to take on these roles, make sure you have a good acting coach and make sure you know how to come out of those roles, because you can literally end up becoming that person. You can take on the essence of that person. You know, that's why actors get paid what they do, because they're able to bring these characters into real life. But people don't understand how emotionally draining that shit is. And you have to know how to exercise those particular characters out of you, especially if you're playing a very dark character. You need to make sure you have the right acting coach who can get you into character, but then who can also safely take you out of character. Because you can definitely end up like a Lloyd Avery. This is not a strange phenomenon. It's happened to a few people who've gotten involved in acting.
Method acting isn't a new technique, but the idea of living the life of a character in order to give an honest performance has only gotten more popular in the last few decades. Some actors have taken the technique a bit too far, pushing the limits of both themselves and those around them. Here are Screen Rant's 10 actors who almost went crazy in their roles.
Anyways, y'all, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation concerning Boyz N The Hood, and, you know, what's your favorite scene in Boyz N The Hood, and how do you feel about this movie, you know, 25, 26 years after the fact? Does it still resonate with you to this day? And do you feel like that movie, you know, it's been so many years, but has anything really changed? Do you think that things have gotten better in the hood or in the black community? Have things gotten worse? Do you feel like it stayed the same? And then how do you feel about these different characters? Who is your favorite in that movie? Who's your favorite now that's made it and, you know, gone on to do great things? And then how do you feel about, you know, the things that happened to Lloyd Avery and Dietrich Gruber? So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right. Deuces. Hey you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit Lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.